back to Ave'sAutoATL. It's your boy Ave. It's been a minute. It's been a while. Like everything, I got something to make y'all smile. Please like and subscribe because we almost at that 250K marker of subscribers. So maybe getting monetized soon. Who knows? Trying to get a little paper, help with the build. You know how it goes. And I'd like to introduce everybody to my boy. Who?
What's up, everybody? This is Zach from Speedgate Motorsports. How are y'all today?
So, they don't answer back. That's the
Yeah.
All right, Zach. Introduce yourself, please, for us.
So my name is Zach. I goes by Nismo Zach on Facebook and Instagram, and I'm the founder of Speedgate Motorsports. We're an Atlanta-based racing team and car organization. We host rallies, car meets, and everything in between.
All right, cool. I've been to a couple of Zach's Caffeine Octane, some of his events.
Yes, sir. The luncheons after CNO and the rallies and all the charity events and stuff like that as well.
And his events are always packed, got good mix and diversity of cars and people from different backgrounds. And man, he's just a really cool guy, and everybody there is really friendly.
Well, we always appreciate the support, man. It goes a long way for all of us. So to everybody that comes out and supports the events between now and the last 5 years from when we started, from the bottom of my heart, thank you guys, because it's because of y'all that we're able to bring this thing out racing.
Oh, so what is this? Let's explain it to the people.
So this is my 1990 Nissan Skyline R32 GTR. If you don't know this, this is Godzilla.
Okay. And so what made you go 1990 versus the other, so really, how about this? Most people don't know what a Skyline or a GTR is.
All right.
So me and you know this the 32, 33, and the 34. 34, Paul Walker had that one.
Yes, sir.
What made you go 32 over the other two?
So the 32 had all the racing heritage. This dominated Group A and Group B racing, also known as Japanese Grand Touring car. And that was down in Australia as well as Japan. So in Australia Grand Touring car and Japanese Grand Touring car, this dominated and actually went undefeated, earning the name Godzilla from the Australians. So it was thanks to this car that Nissan's racing heritage and prowess developed into its best technology that they had, the all-wheel drive Tesla system, as well as the Heika system, providing with dominating all-wheel drive capabilities and all-wheel drive steering as well. So it's because of this car that they were actually able to take home all those wins and lead into Le Mans in the R33, which is one of my favorite cars as well.
I understand.
So mainly chose the R32 because I knew it was a very agile, powerful, and nimble car with a lot of aftermarket chassis support. So the engine itself, the RV platform, has support all the way from Japan to Australia, Canada, and of course the United States. That's where I ended up going with the Haltech. They are very reputable and highly versatile ECU management or engine management system. So the Haltech paired with an R34 N1 block out of the R34 GTR. So the R34 N1 block, sleeve, milled, coated, all that stuff. And then, fully built out from the bottom to the top end. It's good for what my tuner said was about 900, but we max out. Every time we put a turbo on the car, we just max it out, run it for the season, blow the turbo, or decide to change the system at the end of the year. So depending on what we do, but I like this car specifically because it has an Easter egg that I don't think any of the other Skylines have, if I remember correctly. It has the ability to wire in a fuse for the diff, so you can disconnect it with a little switch. And if you look right here, I have that switch. So when I'm at the racetrack and I'm about to race, I can flip it into rear-wheel drive mode, do a burnout or some donuts to warm up the tires really well in the rear, and then flip it back into all-wheel drive mode and get ready to launch off the line with hot tires. So that goes a long way. It's a lot of fun too,
So I'm gonna say this one. I know exactly what kit you're talking about because when I was researching GTRs in college, it was a kit. It was the same kit for the
right.
Hit the switch, it turns off the front wheel drive system, so
Yep.
you can make it rear wheel drive. What company did you import this GTR from?
So I had a 33 GTR from Craft JDM at first. And then we went with this car that was sitting at Countersteer. Now, Countersteer is a reputable and nationwide tuner. They do Skylines, 350Zs, S chassis. They used to do Supras, but now they're exclusively Skylines and GTRs. they had this sitting at their shop, say for about 4 or 5 months, just kind of chilling with no engine, no transmission in it. So it was already imported. And this car, the story on this goes all the way back to the owner of Countersteer that had purchased it, built it as a drag racing GTR for a friend that used to go 180, 190 miles an hour, according to them, on the drag strips in this car. And then he blew the transmission and the engine up at about 900 horsepower. So from there, I picked up the guts, and it was full interior, different wheels, some of the same suspension, similar brakes, but not everything the same, of course, and ended up just building it over the course of 2 years at the shop.
Okay. All right, then. Can we see what's
Yeah, let's check it out.
Let's look at the bumper and everything.
So
stock bumper.
This is a R32 in one bumper. And then we have the Artwork Body Shop, Canadian front lip, and then a Cybon top secret style carbon fiber hood that allows for good heat ducting. And then, of course, the R34 in one block with the built internals, the top end, a BorgWarner 6161 single turbo on a twin scroll manifold, genuine Mines strut tower brace bar, double head drains leading into a custom overflow for the coolant and oil catch can. We have a Greddy style, so we call them Freddy for the faux Greddy, intake manifold leading to a genuine Greddy intercooler and a coil rad radiator running the GK Tech clutch fan shroud, and then the stock fans, because those actually work really well. C5 Z06 alternator, and a BMW power steering reservoir, because, hey man, you just got to pick from where you can, make it all work. No ABS, power steering's there, but where it wants to be. And then a Greddy baffled oil pan, Tomei fuel rail, 1050cc injectors, PRP, R35 GTR coil packs, and just the whole litany of stuff to where I could keep listing it for the next 2 to 3 pages, but that's just like the front end,
right. And so basically, the way you have it set up is balanced for power, but also reliability.
Correct.
My first question was going to be, how's your oiling treating you? I see, like you said, you already got this big catch can, and from my research with the RB platform, that you should most definitely go very big on the catch can.
Oh yes, yes. So we're running the Motul, if I remember correctly. It's like 10W30, so it's pretty much like golden tractor oil. I'd have to double check on that one, but it's the 8100 X power, and I run about 7.1 liters, I believe, of oil on a regular fill up because of the baffled oil pan. And I would say we also have an oil cooler as well. So average operating temps on track for the oil temp would be anywhere between about 180 to 220, just depending on the heat. And I don't really have many problems with it eating oil or burning oil or anything like that. 2 seasons ago, I blew up the last turbo, which was a BorgWarner turbo, similar but smaller. And the wastegate, because it got so hot running at Road Atlanta during the SCCA National Time Trials in 2023, that the wastegate spring fused itself together from heat. The wastegate stayed open, so I just stayed on it until the turbo blew up, and that's when it started eating a little bit of oil. Luckily, the turbo was strong and the car was strong, so it was able to eat that. I pulled off the track immediately, did my due diligence, got the car home without using any kind of power, of course. And once we got it in the shop, we were able to save it as is. So just a new turbo kit. And that's why I would recommend, if you plan on tracking as well, single turbo kits, because if you blow up your turbo, which will happen at some point, if you track especially, you want to blow up one instead of 2. That saves a lot of money.
So that will lead to my my question of why not run the twins? And I think you answered that perfectly.
Yeah, that and the twins, I would say, is definitely going to provide more linear power. But with this twin scroll setup, you get kind of the best advantage of both worlds. Although this has a little bit longer spool time than I would like to admit, they do make more advanced. I don't know about BorgWarner specifically, but I know at least Garrett, their new line, and I believe what's it called? Not Turbo Smart, but I can't remember the new ones. But I think Garrett made a new line that makes up to 700 horsepower at 3,500 RPM, which is pretty solid as well. So insert that if you know which one I'm talking about. If not, then someone type it up in the comments, and I think you'll know which one I'm talking about. I'm trying to get something more modern though.
So what are you making total, like max
Hmm.
horsepower?
Low boost is 500 wheel horsepower, all wheel horsepower, and 400 all wheel torque. And then high boost is 627 or 630, depending on the day on the dyno. All wheel horsepower at about 500, all wheel torque at about 3,100 pounds.
Okay.
So it's enough to get up and scoot. Any more power, I feel like the aero isn't there to hold it in for the long sweeping corners. And the brakes have definitely been at their limit. Those are stock size calipers.
Okay. So let's walk around a little bit. So you're
Yeah.
saying these are stock calibers. They're
Yes, sir. So these are the stock size calipers, but we're running disc brakes Australia, slotted rotors, and Hawk yellow stuff carbon ceramic pads. So those do a good job. And then we're also running Graham Lights 57 CRs given to me by my friend Russell over at Jade Motorsports. You know him with the wide body Route KS NSX. Yes, super good friend of mine. It's thanks to him I was able to snag these wheels in mag blue, and then of course the Nismo center caps, the extended studs, and the open-ended wheel lugs. So I'm also running stainless steel lines, and we're building a custom brake duct cooling kit to put with the car as well.
all right. Okay, then, and then so side skirt right here.
Yes, sir. Easy splitters, side skirts, something cheap and simple. When I'm building a race car, I just need something that is functional and actually creates some clean air. Now, for the price range, you're not going to find anything that creates like genuine downforce for under 2 or 3K on a GTR. This whole aero kit was probably under $1,500. So my goal was above 120, 130 at Road Atlanta. The car started to feel a little bit wobbly and a little bit not unstable, but you could feel lift and dirty air kind of hitting it from all sides of the car. After I threw this kit on, I was able to take what I believe is corner 9, the kink at the back of the Road A straight, fully stable, no worry, and the rear, what used to wobble at first, just a little bit coming in hot, doesn't wobble at all anymore. So I know that also has to do with brake bias, but I believe that producing clean air all around the car helped keep it in line and provides like that little vacuum I need.
Okay. So is Road Atlanta your home course, basically?
That is my favorite course. I would say my home course is probably Atlanta Motorsports Park with how much I've driven it, but Road Atlanta is probably like our team's main course because that's where most of us have driven, if anywhere at all.
Do you do any autocross?
I've done some autocross at Lanier Raceplex right across from Road Atlanta, and then I've done some autocross with Atlanta Motorsports Park. They section up the back loop and you're able to really enjoy parts of the track with cones on it as well. But my favorite thing is time attack. Time attack is where I'm able to let the car rip. You know, anybody in the way usually has the common courtesy to get out of it, and you can really just drive unhindered. I really enjoy that part of driving.
All right. So would you say you enjoy this car more for its aesthetics and appeal, or more for what it does as a track vehicle?
When I look at a vehicle like this, I think it's a matter of tools put together to create exactly what you need as a driver, which is that extension of yourself and body. So when I look at something like this, it's the ultimate integration of modern and old tools put together to make the weapon I need on the track in my arsenal so that I can dominate and win. That's the goal.
So let me ask this question. How do you feel about them bringing back the R32 but as an electric vehicle?
I think that everybody has to please the PR offices. I think that's a really good way to look at it. And I think it's a cool adaptation if you have the play money. But I mean, I would like to see one of their executives go out and do that in their R32 and see if it's something that they made to please people or to please themselves. As someone who loves these cars, when you build them, if you build them for other people, you're never going to be happy. You have to build the car to please yourself. And I would like to see if they actually did that to please other people or please themselves.
Okay. And then let's ask, this is a good question. How do you feel about like your other four-wheel drive, classmates of the Evos and Subarus? Do you feel like they're competitive with you?
Oh yeah. So love the Evos. The Evo 10, super slept on car. WRXs, love them. Wish they could hang with it on the track. Everybody I've known that had a Subaru of any sort, it just couldn't last. Like the engine would blow. They would have everything done that's required. Anything you could name that you're supposed to do, built block, all the supporting baffle mods, everything like that. Still, they just always have that issue. So I think that in their natural state, without being hindered by maintenance, they're all on the same level. And I would honestly say, like, a properly built Evo with the same budget, given how modern it is, may even outdo a properly built Skyline GTR with the same budget, just because of how modern the technology is and that driving system. The active yaw control and the Evo 10s is quite impressive.
Hey, I respect it.
Yeah.
Man. We all friends around here. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
All right then. Hey, how about this? Let's go for let's check out the interior before we go for the ride.
Let's do it. So I've got the stock 32 GTR seat, and then the stock door cards with a little Nismo protector from the Heritage guys over in Japan. Running the Nismo Duracon white shift knob and a custom 3D printed speed gate cup holder, because, you know, Japanese supercars didn't come with cup holders back in the day for some reason. This is your 5-speed transmission, and all the good stuff is going to be on the other side. But what you see back here is a Studio RSR chromoly steel powder coated pearl white 4-point roll cage. Now that took 9 months. It was a baby coming out of California, man. That took 9 months to get that 4-month projection doubled. But I'll tell you what, good things take time. They wrapped this so well. Big shout out to Studio RSR. Not only did they communicate when I was worried that they wouldn't, they did communicate. You just have to reach out sometimes if you're a worried customer. But they wrapped it so well. It took us about 45 minutes, 3 grown men and a couple box cutters, because obviously we don't want to cut it or ruin it. It took us about 45 minutes to pull all of the packing material off. They did a great job protecting my cage. It bolted up perfectly. It fits perfectly. And I'm really impressed with it. The fact that you can get something like this, go with a welded cage down the road, and then pull it out and sell it for $2 or $3 grand when you're done, is a really good investment. So if you plan on tracking, just get one of these cages and you can resell it. It's an investment. It's worth it for your safety too.
So also, when you have it on your track days, are you keeping the carpet in, or
yeah, pull this quick little carpet cover there, and I'm running a Sparco bracket, fixed bracket with no sliders for extra safety with the OMP HTER seat. It comes with a built-in halo, and then of course a Sparco 6-point harness as well, or I'm sorry, 5-point harness as well. Now we do have a Haltech 2500 ECU running to the Haltech IC7 dash. So I can show you what that looks like real quick. And then over to my right are my boost settings and my all-wheel drive settings. So with a flip of these switches on the fly, we can choose between all-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive, high boost, and low boost whenever we feel like it. Now it is on flex fuel, so we run E85 on the regular, and then 93 if we ever have to get between a track or something. Okay. All right. And then
I love it so much, because like I said, I'm the biggest Nissan fanboy. RP Paul Walker.
Oh yeah.
But man, let's go for a ride.
Let's do it.
All right,
I've got a Tomei single exit right over there, and we'll just start her up. Oh man, this thing's fun. I cannot wait. I haven't drove it in a few weeks, so maybe since like C&O, I think.
I understand. Okay, the Haltech pick up your turn signals too.
Oh yeah, it does all that for me. All right, now I can't see jack shit, so you're gonna have to tell me if we're clear or not.
No, edge up a little bit. You good?
Good?
Yeah.
Nope, there's someone coming. Am I tripping? Yeah. All right, good after that?
Yeah.
All right. Roll these up. Trying to warm it up a little bit.
She got a lot of pickup and go.
Yeah, it does. It does a good job, man. The greatest thing about this car is just riding in it with no music and enjoying the track. You go out into the pits, you're in third gear, whining like this. You know, you're getting on the accelerator. You just see the sun open up, wide open track in front of you. You get the green flag, and next thing you know, you're just... This guy in his truck. Go ahead, dude. I love the little flutter off of the turbo when I'm on the highway. Sounds like a Boeing 757 just going.
Yeah, I might need an R34.
Yeah, the cage is what does it. The issue is that thing gets in the way. You used to be able to slide that a lot further back.
Oh.
Yeah. But we are warmed up, so I'm going to look for a turnaround spot here in just a second. We can get a solid pull in on the way back.
Oh, a solid pull.
Oh yeah. We've been just doing a little bit of half throttle stuff, making sure we don't go too crazy on the engine or anything. Give her time to warm up. Alright, we'll see if we can pop a UE up here. Does that open up? Yes, it does. Oh. All right. Hold on to my phone. We went the speed limit.
Excuse my profanity, everybody.
Oh man. And I'll tell you what, dude, just to be completely honest, if you think these seats are tight, those in there are way worse. So we're probably just going to stick with this car at this point because I don't know how you're going to be able to get in those at that point. Yeah.
We're just going to take it back to the park.
That sounds good. So that was our rolling anti-lag with this little tune button right here. I was able to just hold that down and spool the turbo up. That's that rubbing. That's okay. Just went with that wider tire, so she's not used to it quite yet.
So you got anti-lag too?
I do have that anti-lag right here. So we've got anti-lag here and launch control. We'll probably get into it one more time before the thing is coming up. Let's try to be in a straight line, you know. All right, here we go. Build it up and...
The brakes are amazing.
Yeah, and they're pretty cold right now. I usually have to warm them up a good bit. So when they get really warm, they bite hard and they screech like an eagle, like, ah! So they're fucking hawks, man. They're really good. And the brakes, the rotors from Disc Brakes Australia, I keep messing up that name. They do really well, but the issue is I don't have a cooling system running to them. Rather, the stock cooling system is running to them. So I'm about to get that aftermarket one put in and make sure I get that true like hose to knuckle on the rear of the rotor. So what did you think?
Oh,
At the Speedgate R32 time attack car, man.
I
Need a track ride along next.
need a track ride along. I need. I might need a 30, 34, 33.
33, whatever you get will have room. Just don't put a cage in it. That's where you run out of room back there. Because normally you could put that seat like a good bit further back. Yeah.
Like that anti-lag roll was crazy.
Shout out to Dylan over at Countersteer. He is the mad scientist that put this together over the course of 2 years. And we tuned it on the streets, in the mountain, got everything refined in the mountains of North Georgia, Blood Mountain, Jasper Mountain, Burnt Mountain. And then we took it to the racetracks and just did a little bit more refinement from there. And the North Georgia mountains, man, perfect breeding ground for building and tuning a race car.
This has been a day.
Well, thank you for making it happen and coming out here, man.
No, thank you. Like,
of course.
Oh man, I'm geeking out.
Park up right here.
Hey guys, so we got basically 2 cars in one day. It's gonna be a different video, so we're gonna use the same intro when the next video drops. But Zach back again, everybody. Zach, what are you standing behind?
So this is my 2024 Nissan Fairlady Z. And it is one of the most underrated cars of 2024.
Let me say this, you have the newest car of the channel. So how is it underrated in your opinion?
Well, everybody says super this, super that. The B58's great. But what you're missing out on is tunability. With the Supra, and I would say its other competitors, maybe like M2 competition, you have a lot of new development and new chassis development, so a lot of high-priced aftermarket costs. This chassis is a Z34 chassis. If you don't know what that is, that's a 370Z from Nissan. So that chassis has been around for about 15 years. And this engine comes out of the Q60 Red Sport and the Q50 Red Sports from 2015. This is a 10-year-old engine. So all the parts you could need have already been out for 10 years. So that means the price is low. There's a ton of them. And you can just mod and mod away for as cheap as you want.
All right. So she looks fairly brand new. Let's start from the front. Let's start from these wheels and go work our way back.
Okay.
So, let's talk about, you got the Bridgestones.
So I'm running 275 40 19 Bridgestone Potenzas on a set of Z Performance 19-inch wheels. These are raised from the factory, and I ran with the Infinity Akabono swap, the Z1 slotted rotors, Z1 stainless steel lines, and once again Hawk ceramic yellow stuff pads, and then just to top it off, the Nismo valve stem cover. I do have a set of Z1 10.5-inch wide GT4 spec per Z1, the same spec they run on their GT4 car. Wheels that I like to run for the track, and those run a 305 rear and a 295 front. So this is a 275 square setup for the daily, and it's running Nismo extended studs on it as well. So once again, all Nismo if we can.
All right. So how is she handling on track?
So far, yeah, I've taken it out for autocross just to kind of get its feet wet. And it does have an internal G meter. The car does great. It's running BC coilovers, Z1 sway bars, end links, the full suspension linkage package. So tow arms, traction arms, control arms, camber arms, all that stuff for the front and rear. It does great, but the open diff that comes in the sport models versus every other model that comes with a limited slip diff is giving out at about 1.2 Gs. So whether I'm accelerating in a straight line or taking a solid corner, once too much power is getting down to the wheels, I'll be either in a straight line or once again in a corner, and one of the rear wheels will just get too much power. It'll slip out, and one wheel is stuck not getting enough power, the other spinning out, and it's easy to catch because you know what to expect, but you need to put the LSD in.
Okay, so has she put you in some sticky situations?
It's put my fellow driver Patrick Stanford in some sticky situations before. It's never put me in an odd spot. It's very tame on the road if you want it to be. But when we did dyno it right after break-in on a fully stock engine, it was 400 wheel horsepower and 400 wheel torque at the countersteer dyno jet. So it's got a true horsepower reading for what they advertise. I was very impressed by that.
Okay.
And of course, it's a 6-speed manual too. So I don't know if that's a transmission thing or what, but the manual transmission was true to the numbers.
Perfect. Love to hear. All right, so let's walk around. And so it's on stock body, correct?
Yeah, this is all a stock body car, but I did swap the seats out for the sponsor seats from Braum. So we have the Braum reclinable bucket seats, and these do come with sliders as well. Very impressed with the quality on these so far. Everybody talks interestingly about Braum, and I run, LMP and Sparko and the other car, but for the price that these sponsor seats came in for, and as well as the price that they charge for a full, price seat, you can get these for about $1,000 as is for the pair, and that's a really good number compared to about $1,000 for one seat or $800 for one seat for a similar brand of quality, but just a little bit more known. And then of course they also have the 5-point harnesses and the sliders on them as well to make it a bit more dailyable. They did come with a really cool harness bar back here, and what we did is this is a stock cut for your car seat, like if you were to have a child or infant in the car.
Mm-hmm.
But we just mimicked the same cut on the other side, and we were able to bolt these bars right in without any issues. So it provides a really nice aesthetic, but gives me a bit more, security in my mind that it's actually going to hold me in place compared to what you see for some kind of questionable universal bars that are just point to point. I really like having that support right there. So,
and if somebody wants to, they can also just use the regular seatbelt, correct?
Exactly. You can, and I actually, just for that reason, kept the regular seatbelt. You can see right here, bolts right in, fits without issue. And if you want to, all you do is you unbolt your seatbelt, what is that? Receiver, I guess? The seatbelt receiver? Buckle. The buckle, thank you. And there's a spot for it right on the other side on the stock bracket that you get with these seats. So each bracket set is made to the car of your choice, and it does take a little bit of time for those to get made, but they are very precise fit. Once again, very impressed with the Braum all over.
All right, let's pop the hood real quick.
Absolutely. So this engine is the VR30 twin turbo V6 from Nissan. This came out back in 2015 for the Red Sport, Q60 and Q50 from Infiniti, and they started implementing these in the new Z as your pretty much B58 competitor for the Mark V Supra.
Okay. Man, very, very tight engine bay.
Yes, a lot of spaghetti, as you can see. I like my pasta. We have Z1 intakes and intake boxes. The Z1 3-point strut tower brace bar compared to the stock 2-point that comes. This was tricky, and for anybody watching that wants to do this, when you remove this piece, have a set of PVC cutters with you, because that plastic is tough and it does not want to cut through anything other than brute force and something sharp. So PVC cutters will be your best friend and make a 30-minute job a 5-minute job.
Okay.
Yeah.
Man, so you say this car is very stable. You've done the suspension and plus the suspension aftermarket and the brakes. So would you say it's more for the handling versus power?
Trying to build a well-rounded car. My goal, if I were to vision in my head, the engine came with a lot of power, but the chassis, once again, being a 15-year-old chassis, needed a lot of refinement. When Nissan and any car company goes to sell these wonderful sports cars, they also keep in mind the daily driver grandma that wants to drive it on the weekends and pick up groceries in it, or maybe their grandson or granddaughter from school every now and then. But what they give the enthusiasts like myself and you is the ability to tune and truly unlock the car's potential with just a couple grand in your pocket to get everything done. At the end of the day, when you get a chance to actually work on these cars and take away that numbness, you get a lot of feedback from just a little bit of give.
So let me say this. Do you feel like maybe they've done this a little too much because just how many hoses and lines we're seeing running through? Or you think they haven't learned a lesson from the 300ZX?
That's exactly where my head was going. It reminds me of the 300ZX. It's a great engine on paper, and if it hadn't been around for over 10 years, I would say it's yet to be proven. But I think Nissan learned a lot of their lessons in the last iterations from Infiniti, and they reworked the turbo system. So instead of the turbos kicking in, and I believe it was around 5,000 to 6,000 RPM in the Infinitis back in the day when they made them, Now they kick in at about 2,500 to 3,500 RPM here. They solved some of the issues from the last generations, but everybody keeps saying if you just look at the old Infinity engines and kind of do that preventative maintenance, you should be okay. My biggest complaint would be is, yeah, anyone that I've talked to that's worked on these cars, and, you know, I've done a little bit of work up here because, let's be honest, guys, the Z1 Motorsports intake boxes aren't the most intrusive things to put on your car. If you wanted to do blow-off valves, which these come with stock diverter valves, so you'd have to do a whole swap on that end, it starts to get very in-depth, and my friends that did this stuff say you have to go under the car a lot just to do stuff that you would normally be able to do above the car. So I don't know if that was on purpose just to put you under there or to force you in the dealership. Not sure, but we all know Nissan needs that extra money right now. So, and that's, you know, to my friends in Nissan corporate, y'all know you need the money too. So keep selling those cars. Keep doing it, Nick. You're on it, man.
I think if they just would have stuck to the sports cars, stop trying during the early 2000s, stop trying to sell all these family cars.
Yeah.
I think that's what hurt them.
I think they look at companies like VW who sell nearly all family cars, and they say, okay, well, if they can have enough sales to fund all these other companies and buy Lamborghini and Bugatti and all these other companies from VW with all their national sales or international sales, their idea was to maybe set some bread and butter for themselves. But the issue is dealerships get greedy. And when COVID hit, I would say it really hurt Nissan's pockets, being the Japanese yen tanked heavy. So their economy was already hurt. And where their new sports car was debuting to counter, you know, these already really popular sports cars, the other companies like Toyota and BMW were already deep into their second or third iterations of that chassis. So where they're testing the market on people that already don't have the money to spend anything, these guys built up, these other companies built up a reputable brand name and, you know, silhouette of a car that you could go look at and say, I want to buy that car. It's going to be cheap and affordable, relatively cheap and affordable.
I would say this as well, is that where Nissan's also felt is they never put out a entry point sports car like Toyota with the FRS BRZ, in the sense of that would be, I was watching a podcast this morning, would be 10 years from now the next 240.
Right. And I would say the biggest issue is, to them, this is their entry level car. And take it as someone that had an allocation for a Nismo, right? I get contact. This is your average experience post COVID, pre 2024 though. Your average buying experience with Nissan is you would put in your name for an allocation. You'd wait 8 to 12 months for a random call from a random dealership in the United States. Ideally, it's the one you set it at. If not, no big deal. You got to travel, get the car. They call you. They say, hey, your car's in. You don't know what your price is going to be. You don't know its condition. Hell, you don't even know the color half the time. So when I showed up to see my allocation, it was still wrapped. I couldn't turn it on. Couldn't really see anything other than what was under the wrap stuff. It was silver on black. I believe it was silver on black. But at the end of the day, the Nissan dealership, the saleswoman looked me in the eye and asked for $85,000. And, you know, I just looked her back in the eye and said, I'm going to go buy a Mercedes AMG GT instead, or a R35 GTR. I had to humble her for the fact that I could go buy a supercar for 10 grand more. Didn't make sense for me to buy her overpriced Nissan. Eventually, she ended up selling that Nissan for what I believe was about 12 to 15,000 under MSRP.
So would you say the dealership? So would you say is Nissan the company's fault here, or is it that Nissan? You're getting kind of political here, but
yeah,
Nissan the dealership.
I would say what I've learned is each dealership operates independently, and unless you have someone at a regional level telling these independent operators, like, this is what you need to do because we're doing this brand wise in this region, they're gonna just try and make as much money as possible because that's their business.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's hop back on the car.
Yeah, back to the car, of course.
Got real heavy for a second.
Yeah.
Compared to your GTR, what do you like better?
Well, if I were to compare this car to anything, it feels like driving the R33 GTR I had back in the day. It's a twin turbo, and this is where I got a lot of hate from some of the Z guys. And I think if they were to actually own both cars, maybe they would understand it. You guys have to understand, I'm not comparing the fundamental differences of a V6 versus an inline 6. I understand the difference in harmony between those engines. and the straight up linear setup versus the concave V6 going in at itself. But what I am saying is in a stock RB engine, you make power from your twin turbos at about 3,000 to 4,000 RPM on a stock GTR Skyline. In this car, you make power at about 2,500 to 3,500 RPM. The 33 GTR I had was tuned on 93 octane to about 330 wheel horsepower. This is about 400 wheel horsepower. The way these things accelerated, the way the power band was evenly distributed through both turbos, the way they kind of underrated themselves where you knew the car had a lot more to give, it reminded me of that R33 GTR when I drove it. So when I look at this, I see the modern solution for what we're missing in this car. This is your manual Skyline with modern capabilities, throwing in the more nimble Z chassis. Nissan wants everyone to push towards their GTR for $100,000+ because they're discontinuing it. God knows what they'll do next. But at the end of the day, when you drive a stock 32 or 33, a stock RZ34, you would find the fundamental comparison of the power delivery and the actual balance of the car are very similar.
Okay. So, I think that's because a lot of people don't know this, but because the 34 GTR was supposed to have
The VQ, right?
VQ,
Yeah,
yeah.
VQ 35 DE. Yep.
And because even on I think it's like it showed the vibrations on the graph, right? Whereas when you run V motors, it's less vibrations versus an inline. And you kind of, with some of the issues where people have when they start making power with inline motors, especially the RB25, 26, is that between cylinders 3 and 4, there's always a crack or a piston might go through. There's a weak point of the motor. So, you don't really have that issue on the V motors. But the problem is with the V motors is you stuff the
stuff a lot in here.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of metal and a lot of connectivity going on. You're really forcing the engine to do what you want it to versus this reminds me of like they build the car and then they throw the engine in there versus they almost built the whole car around the engine on this one. And I'm sure someone in their Nissan heritage and history is going to tell us differently, but when you look at this, and maybe that's just because it's inline, if I were to compare maybe a S2000 engine bay, same thing said. But when you look at this, there's a lot of room to work in here. And obviously the twin turbos have been taken out to single turbo. It's got a semi-wire tuck done, so it's a bit cleaner than usual, but you still have a lot of room to play with. If you're looking at over here, even if I remove this plastic trim, there's stuff underneath this blocking everything. There's a lot of stuff in the way in this engine bay. So once again, that single inline block versus having that V formation, fundamentally different, yes. If you were to go drive both cars for a year and come back and tell me they're different, I mean, yeah, but they drive nearly the same too.
I mean, like I said, somebody who has a Silvio chassis car, it seemed like they just said, hey, they just saw in the future like somebody's gonna throw a V8 or RB.
They knew, they knew they needed a room. This doesn't look like they intend you to have a motor swap other than like a GTR VR38 in it, which would ideally and theoretically be a pretty easy swap. And now Miss Amelia Hartford already set the chassis record with the VR38, but I think Boosted 6 holds the VR30 record at around 1,060 horsepower or something like that to the wheels.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
We can go for a drive.
Man, once again, we want to thank Mr. Zach for letting us ride in his beautiful Nissans.
Thank you for coming with me.
One of them. But it's all good though. Zach, we appreciate you. Appreciate your brand. Appreciate you doing all the fun things that you do for the car enthusiasts in the Atlanta metro area. Anything you guys say?
Guys, we're going to save the car community one meet at a time. And it's thanks to great guys like Avery here that we're able to do things like this and enjoy beautiful Sundays with great people and great cars.
Hey, so please subscribe to the channel. Like, subscribe, do all the fun things, comment. The channel growing. We appreciate you. We love you. And we might make this to one big old video because it's 2 cars. Why not? Y'all have a great day. Ave'sAutoATL out.